Hello, my name is Haran Vinay. I work at SAP. On this video, I will show you how to configure the SAP HANA Direct Extractor connection, also called as the DXC. DXC is a data provisioning tool. It utilizes the existing PWG data sources. DXC may not be considered for real-time data replication option. It also may not be considered for a data which requires complex transformation. DXC has three variations. In this one, the first one is the default architecture, which uses the embedded BW system within the SAP business systems. Example would be an embedded BW in the SAP ERP system. The second variation is the sidecar option. It uses the standalone BW system as the DXC system. The third option would be BW on HANA. In this option, if you have a non-BW schema in the same HANA instance where you would like to load data, you could consider the BW on HANA as the DXC system. Before I get into the DXC configuration, I would like to point out the installation and configuration guide for DXC. It can be found on the Service Marketplace. This configuration guide includes the step-by-step guide on the DXC configuration, and also it lists the required SAP nodes for your source system, and also it requires the delivery unit required for the HANA configuration. Let's go into the HANA. In HANA, the DXC load uses the Access engine. So let me show you where the Access engine enabled and configured. Going to administration, configuration. For the newer version of HANA release, the Access engine is as an enable. The default is to enable. For this demo, the My System, the Access instance was not enabled, was set to 0. That means disabled. So I had to get in and I had to enable with this option 1. So once you have the or confirm the Access engine, you go into the Access engine itself, and the application container on the application list include the library for DXC. When you download the delivery unit into HANA, creates a package under SAP HANA, the DXC package. So this required before you include this application list. Once you have the Access engine configured, create a ID for DXC replication. That would be DXC user. This is the schema for the DXC user. I also created a DXC schema, which is more meaningful, and then I granted the access to for DXC user to write or select access on the DXC schema. So now that I have prepared the HANA for the DXC replication, now go into the ECC system. For this demo, I am using the default architecture where I have an ERP, and then I enable the embedded BW system. I have configured the HANA. So even though the embedded BW system runs internally to the ERP system, you still have to create an RFC connection between the embedded BW and then the ERP. You also need an HTTP connection between the embedded BW and HANA. Let me show you. SM59. In the ABAP connection, you would be creating an RFC connection, and then in the HTTP connections to external server, this is our DXC connection for the DXC, where I have also included the path This might be different for the newer version, so please refer this to the configuration guide. And then the target host is the HANA. And I also have the DXC user and the user password for the HTTP connection. Now I have enabled the RFC connection. I also enabled the DX HTTP connection for the HANA data replication. So now let's go into the RSA admin table. It requires a number of objects. So in our case, all of our DXC related objects starts with PSA. So the PSA to HTTP object, I have included the data source. So meaning that I have to indicate which data sources will be designated for DXC replication. In order to designate the data source, you require a custom table, which is referred in the configuration guide. You require a custom table where you could list the data sources that will be enabled for DXC. So you also have to include the PSA to HTTP data source table as the Z table. If you have declared this as a global, then you will not require this object. Also, you will not require the Z table. If you declare the global, every time you activate a data source in the embedded BW, it will create a required in-memory data stored object in HANA. So for this demo, I'm using data source object. I'm designating the certain data sources for application. And then the destination would be our HTTP connection, so that the same name. And the schemas, you would know that we created a DXC schema. So these are the objects that are required in the RSA admin. Let me show you the Z table. As you can see, I have declared these data sources as the data sources enabled for DXC. And I also included the logical system. So if you can see, we also have a flat file load. Prior to activating the data source in the embedded BWG system, you will have to declare a keys for the data source. So you would use the ROSOA change key program. This program will be generated with the SAP node that you implement for DXC. Show you the logs. So I have enabled keys for all these data sources. So for our demo, I will be using the zero consume attribute. So for zero consume attribute key fields, honor and land one. These I have declared as part of the keys through this program. And now go into our data source itself. So I would go into RSA one field. So as you can see, honor is a key here. This is our key field, and also the land one. So these two keys will be used in the in-memory data store object keys for within HANA. When you activate this data source, it will create a number of tables, which I will show you in HANA once we get into the HANA, um, as part of our DXC enablement. So once you have the data store activated, all you have to do is you use the info package or process chain to trigger the data load, and it will load that into HANA. And you can also use RSMO to monitor the data load as well. So you would be treating as any other BWG load. If you were to use the sidecar option, which is the option, you would be configuring the RSA admin table and the data store object keys all would be done in the BW standalone BW system. So now I have enabled the data source. Let's get into the HANA schema. So as soon as you activate the data source, it will create all these tables. 40, and these three tables are system tables, and 00 table is our active table. So I would show you. And then 40 would be activation queue. So 00 is our active table, and then this will be activation tables. And these are the status tables, those are the system tables that I mentioned earlier. So the data first, when you start the data load, first gets into this table, then it will eventually be migrated into this table. So all of your HANA models will refer to this table. So as you can see, I have already loaded the consumer data through using the DXC. This concludes the how to video.